What's up guys, Gaburan Kwayas here. Today's video is going to be on Jupiter, so it's going to be on Chesed, the fourth Kabbalistic sphere known as Chesed. So yeah, Jupiter is referred to as Chesed in the Hebrew Kabbalah, though in mundane Hebrew it's simply referred to as Zedek. So Jupiter as a planet in Hebrew is simply just called Zedek. Chesed simply just means sympathy or mercy, so it's the complete opposite of Gebura. Gebura simply just means severity, as I stated in Gebura's video. But in this case, it simply just means severity or mercy. Either one of the two, really. And as I stated earlier in the introduction to this video, Chesed is the fourth Kabbalistic sphere, or the fourth Sephirotic sphere. So yeah, its holy number is 4. It's ruled over by beloved Zadkiel, or Archangel Zadkiel in short. And Zadkiel is simply just an archangel that's amongst the quarry of angels known as Hashemalim, or referred to as Hashemalim. And Zadkiel's name simply just means the righteousness of God, or God's righteousness. Now, as a celestial body, Jupiter rules over both Sagittarius as well as Pisces. And now I'm going to go over and list some characteristics of each of these zodiacal signs, but beginning with Sagittarius. Sagittarius deals with abundance in all things. So it deals with abundance in all things, financial prosperity, being optimistic or having a optimistic approach to things in life. It deals with agriculture to a certain degree, having a sense of humor, so being humorous in nature or funny, which Mars also deals with, ironically. Good willpower, psychic affairs, or better said, heavy occult work. So dealing with spirits, spirit summoning, rituals, spiritual exercises, and it goes on. So simply just hefty occult work, not anything esoteric in nature, things of an occult nature, so magic in general. And moving on to Pisces, Pisces simply just deals with solitary, so being alone, things of an occult nature, so things that are essentially hidden from the masses, or things that are obscure, one's privacy or private life, things of a clandestine nature, mental health, whether it be both positive or negative, being incognito, higher forms of education, and so on. So that is pretty much the logistics of Pisces as a whole. And yeah, that is pretty much Chesed, really. Nothing else really that needs to be stated. I work with a fair share of Jupiterian spirits, but to give a quick example, I simply just worked with Lilith and Satan. So Lilith and Satan, both infernal angels. And these guys each have their own video on my channel as well as their own article on my website. So you guys can simply just go and consult these things in your own time, at your own leisure, if you'd like to simply look more deeper into the matter in relation to my experiences with Lilith and Satan. All up to you. Though I have encountered my own fair share of Jupiterian spirits as well throughout my own practices and whatnot, and me simply just being an occultist and whatnot. So I've encountered Jupiterian spirits like Bune, a celestial angel from Jupiter named Alexander, Zadkiel himself, and it goes on and on and on. And that is pretty much it, really. So nothing else. Now I'm simply just going to go over my experiences, my astral traveling experiences with Jupiter, which I recently just visited Jupiter for the first time with my astral body specifically, sometime this week, earlier this week essentially. So yeah, because I remote viewed Jupiter once, but I never specifically visited it with my astral body. So yeah, let's get right on with it. I simply just decided to astral travel to Jupiter one day, earlier this week, because I simply just got bored. I was I was literally bored as fuck. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna astral travel now, and I'm gonna make my way onto Chesed, Zadkiel sphere, or beloved Zadkiel sphere. So once I did so, I simply I saw Zadkiel and I approached him, and he came down my way. And he simply just addressed me and whatnot. He greeted me, and I greeted him as well. We started speaking, and throughout the conversation, at some point, I simply started recalling upon both my patrons, Samael and Hracian. So I mistakenly invoked them while I was there, literally just by putting emphasis on their name and them as a whole and etc. I tend to do this occasionally. I just it's simply just due to how do I say this, how just how much I deal with spirits, honestly, to the point in which I just accidentally summon guys and whatnot, unintentionally. So yeah, while I was speaking with Zarkiel, all of a sudden I see Sama and my beloved Seventh Lord Hracia come out of nowhere, standing beside me, and they simply just he said something funny. He said something along the lines of, "Oh, you accidentally summoned me. I already know what's up, Eduardo. You occasionally do this." And Hracia was just there, and he simply just greeted Zarkiel as well as me, and everyone. We simply just greeted each other and whatnot. Everyone there. And then we continued to have a conversation and whatnot. And at some point, we started just joking around. It was quite funny, honestly. But to speed things up, before I went ahead and started doing my own thing, Zarkia simply just because at first Zarkia it took him literally like a millisecond. He looked at me for a second when I first greeted him, and he was like, "Oh, I remember you. Yeah, you're Eduardo. Yeah, you work with so and so," and it goes on. And once we finished up towards the end of the conversation that we all were having, Zarkia simply just acknowledged me in relation to him stating that him stating something along the lines of, "Oh, you're different. You're different, Eduardo. You're really different compared to the guys that invoke me or summon me or simply just humans that I come across on my own time. The guys that you work with speaks for itself." And I simply just thanked them, honestly. I really appreciated the good gesture coming from beloved Zarkian. So once we finished up with our conversation, Zarkia was gonna go ahead and head out, as well as both my lords Samael and Hracian. But before Zarkia ended up leaving, I simply stopped him for a second because I wanted to ask him something in relation to an angel that falls under him, which is Alexander, the guy who I mentioned earlier, in relation to me going over spirits that I've worked with or spirits that I come across who are Jupiterian in nature. And Alexander's one of them. So since I was already there, I simply just wanted to see Alexander and whatnot. So I asked Zarkia before he left if he can please bring me Alexander before he left, because I simply just want to interact with Alexander and I want him to give me a tour and etc. And he said, "Oh yes, the angel who falls under me. Okay, no problem." So he simply just called him my way, and lo and behold, he was literally there under a millisecond. And then Zarkia simply just said goodbye to me, and then he started flying away back to the position that he was in the sky, watching over Chesed as a whole. And then I got on tour with Alexander, and it's been a good while since I saw Alexander. Ever since the first time that I hosted a ritual on him, in his name essentially, which was a while back. This was like 3 months ago or something, before I started working with Metatron heavily. So, yeah, the way that Alexander looks is really beautiful, honestly. He simply just looks like, honestly, he looks like a better Alexander the Great. No offense to Alexander the Great, but he looks similar to him. Okay, he has similar facial features to him, essentially, or a similar description to Alexander the Great. He's simply Caucasian in nature. He has nice curly blonde hair that goes up to his shoulders. He has really blue eyes, so not the blue eyes that we're all used to as humans. His eyes are literally just Jupiterian blue, as I like to call this specific blue. It's simply just a nice dark blue with and he was wearing nice armor, so Greco Roman armor essentially. And everything was just blue in color. Okay, he was just wearing a lot of blue amongst his armor, and his armor was simply just his chest plate was bronze, and he was wearing the stereotypical garments and etc. with the straps hanging down from the belt, and it goes on. And this guy was holding a nice, just one sword, just a nice big I think it was a gray sword or something similar, or something that looks similar to a Solomonic sword. And that was pretty much it, really. The guy he's a hefty guy. Okay, he's right up there in terms of being a senior angel, so to speak. So yeah, this guy simply just falls under Zadkiel. And I simply just greeted him and whatnot. We got to it. I asked him if he can simply just give me a tour amongst the second and the third level of Chesed. So he simply agreed, and instantly we were already there at the second level of Jupiter, because all you have to do is literally just. All he had to do was simply just teleport us there, literally. So yeah, we were already there, and the second level of Jupiter is really nice. It's essentially like the aspect of Jupiter that radiates nothing more other than Piscean energy. So everything was literally just blue, like a really strong blue essentially, and it felt really watery in nature. It was just really intense Piscean energies everywhere, and it looked like we were surrounded by water or water lake energy because everything was blue and was wavy and whatnot. It was just really gorgeous to see, honestly. And then after spending like 5 minutes there while I was speaking to Alexander, um, we simply just I had him bring me over to the third level of Chesed, which was a level that radiated nothing more than Sagittarius like energy. So everything was literally just orangey. It was like this. It was like a reddish orange like color. Okay, it was like a strong orange color that almost looks like it's red. It was a really nice shade of orange, honestly. And it was really just fiery. Everything was just fiery in that sphere. But that's an obvious, given that that level of Jupiter simply just radiates Sagittarian energy. So yeah, once I spent some time with there alongside Alexander, um, I had him bring me back to the surface level of Jupiter. So once we finished up, we went back to the surface level of Jupiter, and then we simply just spent some time together, some more time together essentially while I was on the surface level. And once I finished up with my stay in Jupiter, I simply just waved goodbye to Alexander, and he did so to me as well. And then I just made my way back to my room physically, and that was pretty much it with my stay in Jupiter. Jupiter essentially looks like uh, it's just a very beautiful. It's just a very beautiful Kabbalistic sphere, honestly. It's just very neat, natural, essentially. It's not violent or dark like Binah or Gebura or anything else. It reminds me of Neptune and the moon, essentially, minus the sand, because Jupiter is sandy. So Jupiter's floor is simply just, it consists of nothing more than a sandy floor. Everything is nice and perfect in terms of sand. There's no pattern or anything like that. It's simply just sand. And whenever you press your foot amongst the sand, it doesn't leave footprints anywhere amongst the sand, because where the footprints were, it would essentially take its form back, and then everything would just be nice and perfect once again, which I found to be a really nice detail, honestly, of Jupiter's floor. And but there wasn't just sand amongst the floor. There were also small little rivers around, these really beautiful dark blue river like locations or places amongst the floor on Jupiter. And then there were nice palm trees and just different trees in general amongst the surface level of Jupiter. And then the skies were just typically this dark blue Jupiterian color with really beautiful prominent clouds. The clouds are definitely not like what you would expect on in the physical plane. These clouds were really different and perfect in nature. And the sun was also shining amongst Chesed in the sky, but the sun was literally huge as fuck. It was literally just this huge orb of light that was shining amongst the surface or the ground on Jupiter, and you can see the sun perfectly clear. You can see directly into the sun. You can see the energy that it radiates and everything, as well as the rays that surround the sun. So it's not like, how do I say this? It's not blinding or anything like that. It's not like when you look up into the sun in the physical plane and you can barely look at it for longer than like 5 seconds because it's just gonna burn your eye. No, it's not like that in the astral plane. It's way different. So yeah, that was pretty much it on Chesed. Really beautiful planet. And in relation to the spirits that I saw there, it's just typical spirits, honestly. Just spirits that correspond to Jupiter, or they're simply just spirits that chose to visit Jupiter because they just wanted to do so. as I wanted to do so as well. Um, Generally speaking, when you're astral traveling to Kabbalistic spheres or just the astral body of planets in general, you're not just gonna run into spirits that correspond to the sphere itself. You're gonna run into one or two or three spirits that are like, well, for example, if I'm in Venus, you're gonna find Martian spirits that just wanted to visit Venus for some reason. um and it goes on and on and on. Okay, you're not just gonna always find spirits that correspond to the sphere itself, because these guys do get bored, so to speak, and they just decide to traverse the entire Sephiroth itself. So yeah, that is all. It was really gorgeous. I really loved Jupiter. um oh boy, when I came back, I was literally just radiating more Sagittarian energy than Pisces as a whole. But that's due to my fiery nature, honestly. I guess the fires of Sagittarius simply just rubbed off my astral body more than Pisces itself. And it feels really good. Sagittarian energy just feels really nice. It feels very just very positive, and just it just feels very enlightening and whatnot. It's really good stuff. Reminds me of Leo fires, but it's not the same. Leo feels a lot more different. But yeah, that is pretty much all on Chesed for today. Nothing else really that needs to be stated or said, so that is all. The next planet might be the moon. Oh yeah, yeah. The next planet is gonna be Yesod, so the moon, Luna. So that is all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye bye.